Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Christian Homeschool Moms podcast. I have with me today a very special guest. Her name is Anita Kroeker, and she is a Christian homeschooling mama of two, originally from Germany. So she'll tell us more about her journey and everything. And she's currently living in Colorado. And she was teaching in the public school for 15 years. And she'll tell us more about that too. So that's exciting to hear about. She has started homeschooling recently, her children. And so we are going to find out so much more about her. She also has an event coming up. So we're going to find out a lot about Anita. So Anita, welcome to the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. You are recently homeschooling, and I would love to hear more about how you, well, first of all, tell us about your family. Share about how many children, well, I think we mentioned that you homeschool two children, but tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so you said I'm originally from Germany. So I've been living in the States for 5 years now. My husband is from South Korea. So we kind of ended up here by God's leading. He opened up the door for my husband to get a position first as a researcher and now as an assistant professor for physics. So now this is our home here in Colorado, and we really enjoy it. Our kids are 2 and 5 at this point. So we've been just getting our, just getting started with all the homeschooling, but I've been really enjoying and loving it so far.
That's awesome. I love when we start our kids early in home education, and it helps them to transition as they're older. And so it's a beautiful journey for everyone involved. Please share with us more about your background in education, though, because you said that you taught in the public schools for quite a long time. So what was that like?
Yeah, so my passion growing up was always educating and teaching, especially the young children. So that's why I chose my major as an elementary school teacher. And I was privileged to actually teach in 4 different countries. I taught in Mexico and in Germany and in South Korea and then in the United States also. So I always loved it. It was great to just engage with the young minds and being able to teach them, and especially to see them like starting to learn how to read and like these really, really practical life skills was always super exciting for me. So that's how I started out, and I always loved it. And then the turning point was when I had my own children, and I began to but just feel something different in my calling, I guess, as a mother. But also, I was beginning to notice more and more things, especially here in the American public school system. So I was working as an ESL teacher. So my children were struggling with English, but they also came to my program when they had reading or writing challenges. So I had a lot of kiddos that were having developmental challenges or dyslexia or just some reading problems. So a lot of those kiddos were stuck in my program, and I was just dying to help them because that's my passion. And it was kind of I was kind of noticing that I couldn't help them as much as I wanted to. Just the 45 minutes every day that I had with them was kind of, constrained by curriculum, constrained by their attention span. I mean, their school day was 7 hours, especially if I saw them after lunch, it was kind of really not fruitful. So I was beginning to feel more and more like I wish I could do more. And then as a teacher also, we know that the biggest influence on the school learning is the home environment. So everybody knows that. We just take credit for it as teachers, but it's kind of course, right? So that was another part, that I had some students with home environments being disrupted or not being connected to their parents, and they have behavior issues that in fact impact their learning in academics too. So seeing all that was just heartbreaking, and my heart was longing to help them more than just those specific times that I had with them every day. So I was beginning to feel like I wish I could help actually the source, which is the parents, the home, because I know if I could reach that, the child would be helped so much more than just those specific 30 minutes a day that they would have with me. So
Yes.
that was a dream that was forming in me. And then at the same time, I was noticing that I felt disconnected to my own children because we were separated for 9 to 10 hours every day, sending them to daycare at 7 a.m. and picking them up by 5 and then getting dinner ready and just sending them to bed.
Right.
So I felt I was like losing that connection. I'm like, what are you doing all day? What are you feeling? Whom are you talking to? What are you eating? I have no idea.
Wow.
So I was feeling that at the same time too. So that really troubled me. My son was getting to that age of, talking, and I'm like, I want to connect to you more. So God really convicted our hearts. Like, it was a big battle because the decision was so hard because we can't make it on one income. And I know there's many other families. Usually all my friends' circles, usually moms want to stay home more, but the financial aspect is very burdensome. So that was our thing. And, many moms said, oh, just cut back, right? I'm like, yeah, doesn't work for us. Even if we cut back anything and eat rice and beans, right? We still don't make it. Okay. So anyways, that was what kept us back. And then God was working through us, and he was working through us, trying to figure out what are our priorities, right? What do we want as a family? What is more important? And the promises in the Bible where he says that he will provide bread and water. Is that true for our age? Right? So he was convicting our hearts. So we kind of had a financial plan, and we were just convicted to, okay, let's just do it. I felt I had to quit my job or I would sin against God. So I did it.
Wow.
And it was a big step. And what I love about God is that he gives us convictions, which is like this strong urge and feelings, right? That is backed up by his word. And then we saw the beautiful fruits. I think God is a God that wants to help us, right? He wants to help us understand his ways are bigger than our ways.
Yep.
And his thoughts are bigger than our thoughts. At the same time, he invites us to reason together with him. So he took us, and we saw the fruits of our decision. We saw how our kids were a lot more calm. They were bonding to each other, and they connected more with us. It was just a lot more peace, and just beautiful to be in our family all together and have them home. And they haven't been sick since, because we're not stressed as much. So that was beautiful to see. And I praise God for making big decisions like this, very clear through multiple ways. So I just love what I love about homeschooling, just being so individual about the learning process, to just help them see me, see my faith, instill my values in them, just doing stuff together, be connected with them. So we have been really, really enjoying that journey together.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story you've just told us today. I can relate in many ways to what you're saying. There's that calling, and not everybody experiences that calling in the same way. Sometimes our convictions may be a little stronger or less so. And I just hear the passion in your voice for homeschooling your kids. And it was very clear for you that this was what God wanted you to do. And if you didn't do it, you weren't going to be walking down the right path for you and your family. So that made it extremely difficult to go any other way. So you knew exactly that you needed to be homeschooling your kids. And for all the reasons you mentioned, which are the reasons many, many people want to homeschool, because being away from your kids and even on one income, we find that there's so many benefits to having our children at home with us. And so it's a blessing that you're able to see on the back end
Mm.
all of the benefits, all of the many blessings that God has for you. And there's so many more that you'll see unfold as your children get older, of how being in the home environment and being with mom and dad is going to just shape them for the future. So it's so beautiful. And so I was just thinking, as you were talking about your conviction with homeschooling, I was thinking about the heart versus behavior. So now that your kids are in the home and versus you're having taught in the public schools, and you've seen what it is to educate children from this the educational perspective, right, the public school perspective. And so there's a lot of, I guess, behaviorism that is involved with when you're teaching and correcting. And but
Mm.
when you're at home with your kids, it's a little bit different when you're molding and shaping the hearts of your kids. So what sorts of things can homeschool moms do to focus on the hearts of our children more than just their behavior? Because we know that
Mm.
our children are more than just, we're telling them what to do and how to do it, but what about their hearts? So how can moms
Yeah.
focus more on their hearts?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. And yes, you're right. In the public school system, it is very, very difficult. Well, I would say in any group setting, this is very difficult because you need time and you need that connection to find out about the heart of a person, right? If it's a friend or whoever it is, if it's your parent or if it's your child. So I would just actually looked up what is the heart actually. We talk about it all the time, right? And in the biblical understanding, the heart is actually the seat of life or strength. And that means the mind, the soul, the spirit. It's basically our entire emotional understanding. So if I put it maybe in a different way, what makes me me is basically my thoughts and my feelings, plus, kind of like my being, right? So if I'm dealing with the heart of my child, I'm dealing with a lot more than just what I see. And I like to put it as, in a picture, in an illustration. I think children are like plants. So and the behavior would be like the fruits. So my grandma was an avid gardener, and she told me one year she planted pumpkins and they grew beautifully. They were big and orange. And by the time of the harvest, she took them home and she cut them and made something like a dish out of them. And it was gross. They were sour. She couldn't tell from just the appearance, but
Right.
inside the taste was, you couldn't eat them. They were unedible. So she, she, like what every gardener would do, is like, why? Like, what went wrong, right?
Mhm.
So she figured that that specific year was a very dry year in Germany. And apparently when pumpkins are too dry, they turn sour. So in gardening, if the fruit doesn't turn out like you want it to be, like, what do? You find out why and you try to fix it, right? If it's the soil, if it's the water, if it's not enough sunlight, if it's too much sunlight, whatever it is, right? So with our children, I like to have that perspective when we're dealing with them. So if there's a behavior that is troublesome,
Mhm.
it's really helpful to ask first why or what's behind it before I try to fix it. So I can give you one example.
Okay.
We roomed my children in together a few weeks ago because we had some family coming over. So my 2 and my 5-year-old were sharing a room, and my 5-year-old is kind of that independent guy that needs his alone time. So they were sleeping together. And then the first few days, my son was going bonkers. He was teasing her all the time. He was so mean to his sister and like taking toys away and hitting her and all these things. And I couldn't understand. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I was so having it because it was happening constantly. And then I was thinking in my quiet time, praying to God also, like, what's going on here? And then I was wondering if maybe that rooming in together made him feel intruded and just put an extra load of stress on him.
Mhm.
So that was my thought. I tested that, and I went in. I took him aside alone, and we made some stop signs around his room, were for the things that little sister could not touch, like a drawer with special toys, or we put a little tent over his bed. So he put a stop sign on that, so he can't come in where he's sleeping. So just to have some boundaries for him to not feel like little sister's coming in and trashing everything. And he was really enthusiastic about that. He's like, oh yeah, and we need one more stop sign for my closet, and we need one more stop sign. So I felt that he's actually liking that idea of putting boundaries to little sister, and maybe that's what was he needed. And after a few days, he was as normal again. He adjusted to the situation. The boundaries were clear, and he was nice and sweet to his sister again. So what would have happened in that example if I just would have like punished him for his bad behavior without really figuring out what is going on? So I think that is just one example of, behavior wants to tell us something, like the fruit of a plant wants to tell us something was wrong here, or something is just, something can be improved, right? So our child's behavior wants to tell us something. That's their way of communication. It's really hard for them. It's even hard for adults to sometimes say, I am stressed because of XYZ, or frustrated, or whatever, right? So for children, it's even harder. So often their behavior is the way for us to tell us something. So if we take that as a communication piece and try to figure out what they're actually saying to us, then we can actually reach their heart and try to find out and connect with them even deeper and find out what their needs are.
I think that's amazing that as parents, we can tap into our children and their needs, similar to the way a gardener would in a garden, just observing and being attentive to our gardens. And that's what our children are like. They're like, we're raising them up, and we have to nourish them and constantly be attentive and know what their needs are. So that's what our children need. And focusing on their hearts rather than their behavior is going to go a much longer way than to just focus only on what you did wrong. And now we got to give you a punishment, and it's just so nice that you have been doing this with your children, that you saw there was a need with your son, and you didn't address the behavior right away. You addressed what his need is. And that just made all the difference. And you said that he just self-corrected.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I love this whole idea of reaching the child holistically. And it feels authentic when we're homeschooling in this way, when we're looking at what our children need and what we need as parents. And sometimes there's situations like you mentioned with work, and how being together with family was more beneficial than everybody separating for 7 to 10 hours a day. And just this whole holistic concept of the family and raising the family with values, and having a purpose, a spiritual purpose for what we're doing. So I just find all of this so beautiful. You have an event coming up, and it has to do with the heart. The title of your event has the word heart in it. So we're talking a lot about the heart of our children today. Tell us the name of your event, and what can we expect as homeschool parents to receive and to learn from your event?
Yeah, so I'm hosting the Homeschool with Heart online summit, January 29th to February 2nd. So that ties back into, my story from earlier. Number one was my conviction to stay home, but I still have that passion to reach other children in other homes. So, God just, for us, God came through in very different ways. I was talking to many other homeschool moms, and they, their financial situation was solved by the husband getting a raise or some kind of, like, to me, it sounded miracle, which didn't happen for us. So we first went completely broke until I figured out, you know what, my passion is still in education, and I actually want to start a business supporting homeschool mamas. So my first project is this Homeschool with Heart Online Summit. So it is for all Christian homeschool moms who want to help their kids learn better and homeschool with confidence and peace. So I interviewed 15 speakers. One of them is Demetria. And they will cover topics about how to help kids or siblings stop fighting over homeschool goal planning, or why yelling doesn't work in your homeschool and what you can do to overcome it, about how to beat mom burnout. So very practical topics. I have been very blessed by all those speakers, and I'm just really, really excited to share that all with you.
Well, we're excited, and I can't wait to attend it myself. I mean, I just can't wait to hear what other moms are going to be offering and their encouragement. So now, where can we attend this event? How do we get to it? How do we sign up?
So it's very simple. If you go to my webpage, my handle on Instagram is Aspen Tree Nest, because in front of our house there's a big aspen tree. So aspentreenest.com is my webpage. The title of the event is Homeschool with Heart Online Summit. If you can remember that better, you can just type it in, and the first thing that pops up is my webpage. So if you go there, you can find out all the information about the event, and you can put in your name and your email, sign up, and then you will get all the other information that you need by email. So the event works that you sign up and you get emails every day between January 29th and February 2nd to listen to the interviews for free for 24 hours. And if you would like to watch some or listen to some later or earlier and have some additional bonus materials like guides or another workshop, then you can also buy the Homeschool with Heart Power Pack and have that all ready for you, downloadable on your computer.
This is beautiful. I think that everybody listening, especially if it's before the date that we're talking about today, which is, tell us the date one more time.
January 29th to February 2nd.
January 29th through February 2nd. Look for Homeschool with Heart Online Summit, everyone. This event is free. So that was the one thing I was going to ask you. Is it free? Is it paid? But you can pay for a pass. And what else, kind of give us an idea of what's included in the pass.
So in the pass is included, you get all the interviews, video and audio. Audio is kind of nice because you can listen to it whenever you want to, or whenever you're cleaning or doing laundry or whatever. And you get some bonus materials. For example, there's a deschooling workshop in it that helps you to create the homeschool that you want, that fits to you. There is STEM practice using the Bible. There is a guide how to beat mom burnout, and there's another, some other additional really, really helpful material that it's like hands-on. It comes from moms. This Homeschool with Heart Online Summit is from moms for moms. So whatever we are sharing, we have tested and tried in our own homeschools, and we are just sharing that, with you.
That makes it so much more real and practical for us when it's by moms for moms. And this is a virtual summit, everybody. So you don't have to leave your house, get on a plane, go anywhere. You can just sit at home with your coffee and enjoy all the wonderful encouragement that will be offered at the Homeschool with Heart Online Summit. So please sign up. I would love for you to share one more time, Anita, how our audience can reach you specifically, in addition to your Homeschool Summit, but how can anyone reach you that wants to talk more about homeschooling?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram for now. So you can reach me there under Aspen Tree Nest. That's probably the easiest way.
Okay, Instagram, Aspen Tree Nest. That's awesome, Anita. Your story was very encouraging today. I think so many of us feel inspired and motivated because we realize that homeschooling can very much be a calling. And we appreciate all the work you're doing in the homeschool community and for creating this summit. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for inviting me to be one of the speakers. I'm very excited to be part of it. And that is all for now. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast today.
Thank you so much.